Today is day 173 of the podcast, and we're going to start looking at the second fruit of the Spirit. And I believe at least the first three come in this order and are written in this order to give us a clue about a couple of things. This comes from receiving Him fully, the Holy Spirit, receiving the Holy Spirit fully, walking in the Spirit begins to give us access to this fruit in Him, and for Him to bear this fruit through us. So joy is the second fruit, and it is an emotion, but it's more than an emotion. It describes the state of being, of relationship, and the level of connectedness between us and God, and then us and other people. It's really a reflection of well-being, of relationship. And it is lasting. It has the ability to be sustained because it's based more on the inward circumstances of our spirit than the outward circumstances of our lives. So where happiness is about our outer circumstances, we can experience a deep level of joy by the access we have to the Spirit in spite of our outward circumstances. It's one of the first skills that an infant has in the natural, is this ability that it needs to develop to be able to go through expressing its needs, but then returning to a place of calm and joy. And it's one of the first ways that a human infant begins to reflect and bear the likeness of their parents. A mom or a dad looking and expressing joy towards that child's face, that child within a few weeks begins to express joy back again. It is an expression that begins to be reflected back to bear and display this likeness of joy. Now in the natural, this ability to do this is developed and then sustained in an infant when there are committed love bonds for that child and the needs of that infant are met in a timely manner. Well, we know that that's not true for all infants in the natural, but according to God's design, that's what He wants for infants, is that the human parent would be a representation of what His parenting is like. There is an incredible book that I'd recommend, and it's called Living from the Heart, Jesus Gave You, and it talks about people that have reached adulthood but not received everything that they've needed. And so you have infant adults, child adults, and what the community of faith can bring to bear to nurture people into wholeness and well-being who have lacked in that area. So I have to recommend that book. We have to, when we are born again, here's where the spiritual reflects the natural. When we are born again, one of the first skills that we need to learn to do is turn to the Comforter. Jesus said He would send the Comforter to us. It's one of the first things we need to do is in the midst of a trial, in the midst of suffering, in the midst of being hungry or thirsty or in need, we have developed patterns over the course of our life, survival skills, ways we comfort ourselves. Now that we are born again, we must learn to turn to the Comforter. And when we are held in a place that we can learn to do that, then we begin to learn and bear the fruit of joy. So here's today's question for you. How have you learned to access His presence to the point of restored joy?